As a practicing psychotherapist, I'm starting to see that much of the frustration couples are experiencing together are actually outside forces beyond their control, especially with the COVID-19 virus. It's such an uncertain time. And what happens is couples are frustrated, they're irritable, they're getting stir crazy in quarantine. And so when they're upset, they get even more upset when their partner doesn't respond the way they think they ought to. In other words, our expectations for a partner goes up when we're stressed out. So today I'm making a video that's going to help you be more compassionate toward your partner during this time, because we go back to the basics. Your partner cannot read your mind. And during this time, each person has a tendency to get a little egocentric about their own needs, and they may forget their partner's needs. So it's more important than ever that you talk about, that you listen, and that you work to understand each other's perspective. So I kind of organized this into do's and don'ts, and then following it up with a few important points that I think are especially relevant during this time. First of all, do work on understanding your partner's needs, their perspective. Understand that the way they used to be may not be the way they are now, because during times of stress, everybody goes back to how they were raised, what they saw. That is wired into our brain at an early age. And anything wired into the brain in an early age is going to be more apparent during stressful times. Don't insist on your way. Just understand during this time, it's more important than ever that rather than just doing it your way, which you might have got away with when things were good, you're not going to get away with now. And your partner's going to react because both partners are on edge with stress. And no matter how well you're doing in it, you're going to have moments where you notice that you're more edgy, your tummy's more upset, or you just don't feel right about what's going on in your love life or your life in general. Next, do give each other space to unwind the way you need to. Understand that for some people, that's going to be going out for a run or doing a complete weight workout. But don't insist that your partner do what you're doing. Your partner may want to lie under a heavy blanket and make the room completely dark. That may be their way of restoring their energy. Introverts and extroverts are very different in how they handle anxiety. And if you married an introvert or you married an extrovert, you can expect real challenges in this area. Be prepared for those. Next, do honor each person's process of getting stuff done. You may be number one organizer. You may already have a list. You may love checking off things on the list. Your partner may not be so much. They might be kind of standing around, which will irritate you more because you see these impending things that need to be handled. It's important that you don't insist that your partner do it your way. Understand that when you get upset, you may belittle your partner. Don't start belittling them now for whatever way they're coping. You can suggest things. If you notice your partner is overeating or overindulging in alcohol or any other bad habit, you can suggest, why don't we go for a walk? Why don't we use this time together to really clean up our healthy eating plan? Now, those would be beneficial, but when you start belittling or making your partner feel stupid or worthless for the way they're dealing with their stress, you're going to run into problems, and it certainly won't be interpreted as loving or supportive, which is what we're trying to do with our partner. I think being genuinely curious about your partner's perspective is key point here. I think trying to understand asking them what they remember, asking them how they got through bad situations in their family of origin. Ask them how they feel about doing certain actions. What do they think would help? And be curious. Be curious without being judgmental, because when you become curious, you usually seek to understand. You're interested. You're showing that a growth mindset, and that is really helpful in a loving relationship that's alive. Be compassionate about decisions you do not understand. If your partner has a tendency to feel trapped and they need to get away, be understanding of that. Something happened in your partner's past, maybe several things, or the way they saw their parents cope. And all they can feel is, I need to get out of here. Like, I feel trapped, I feel claustrophobic. If your partner feels that way, one thing you can recommend is, why don't you go off on your own? Why don't you go take a ride? Why don't you maybe go for a bike ride? Give them opportunities of ways they can feel like they have space to explore and think about things on their own. You can always go sit in a park and journal. That's a wonderful way to relieve that feeling of trapped or being trapped, as well as it offers you a chance to reflect and maybe enhance your personal growth. And I think lastly, understand your own needs. Self-awareness during a crisis is very important, that you know what's going to go on with you, that you know how you react. So maybe you can even prep your partner and say, listen, the more this goes on, I may start getting edgy about money. I may crack down. I may try to hoard things. I may feel more desperate to have stock and things. When you can tell your partner can come back at you with supportive ideas, maybe more logical approaches, as well as calming approaches without judgment. Your partner is able to pace. Your partner is able to relax. They're not going to be as frantic like, oh my gosh, my partner, my husband or wife is losing it. If you've already prepped them of how you may respond, it's going to help you communicate better, and you're going to feel closer to each other. Remember, the goal of going through something like this together is to grow stronger and closer together. You don't want to start becoming each other's enemies. You want to always stay on the side that we are best friends. We're going to get through this together.